Hello, this is Nicole Huang, and today my presentation is going to be on emerging infectious diseases and the environment. This is a general overview of the presentation that I will be presenting. I'll start by giving a brief history of sustainable development, followed by 3 case studies that I believe supports the concept of changes in the natural environment correlating to an increase in pathogens and diseases in our modern day world. I'll end the presentation by providing some questions and thoughts for elected officials to ask themselves as they work to find a solution to this issue. In the last few weeks, the coronavirus pandemic has dominated conversations and news headlines with its rapid spread. The coronavirus pandemic does come as no surprise to scientists, though. Scientists at the forefront of emerging infectious diseases have long predicted a pandemic like the coronavirus and have been warning for decades of a high likelihood and increase of pandemic diseases. Have we partially brought this pandemic onto ourselves with our quote-unquote sustainable development? As defined by the Brundtland Commission 1987, sustainable development is development that meets the needs of present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Considerations of sustainable development is further pillared by 3 characters of equivalent importance: economic growth, social equity, and environmental protection. Worldwide, our development of society has largely been dictated by economic considerations. Economic considerations have long shaped our public policies and dictated our need for capital investment and exploitation in natural resources of highest profitability regardless of consideration for long-term impact on the environment. Within the United States, the conservation movement formed in the mid to late 19th century as a result of environmental conservation groups pleading with the federal government for social equity through public policies to curb larger corporations' overexploitation of natural resources for private gain. The federal government responded by placing various federal regulations, such as the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act, in place. However, even with various environmental regulations in place, in the 21st century, we still face several environmental concerns. These concerning environmental trends are results of the human activities disrupting natural environmental cycles, such as deforestation, pollution, or an increase in global temperature. In turn, the concerning environmental trends collectively lead to larger complications, such as climate change. And as of today, scientists have reason to believe that these changes have led to a change in the way pathogens and diseases interact with their physical surroundings, a change that we call the change in ecology of diseases. Today, I am prepared to present 3 case studies in which changes in the natural environment correlate to an increase in pathogens and diseases in our modern-day world. Let's take a look at ecology. Over the last century, we've seen an increase in zoonotic infectious diseases due to human destruction of natural habitats such as forests. The term zoonotic is defined as infectious diseases that affect humans that originate from animals. Studies show that approximately 60% of emerging infectious diseases are actually zoonotic. One case study documents a steep rise in human malaria cases because of human disruption of several organisms through deforestation. As a direct result of deforestation, we impact the populations and lifestyle of monkeys and mosquitoes. By cutting trees down, we're displacing monkeys from their homes. However, at the same time, with a newly cleared area, we're creating a prime breeding area for mosquitoes, which are significantly increasing the populations of mosquitoes. The displaced monkeys are forced to migrate into select remaining pockets of forest land and congregate in closer proximity, sharing valuable forest areas. As their living quarters become confined and closer, the monkeys are increasing the potential to transmit existing pathogens and viruses between each other back and forth, thereby increasing the potential for pathogens and viruses to mutate and create new strains. With an increasing pool of monkeys carrying pathogens and viruses, and an increasing pool of variety of pathogens and viruses, the increasing populations of mosquito comes in contact with monkey hosts, become carriers of these new pathogen viruses. Mosquitoes are then carrying these new pathogens and viruses and infecting human hosts as they come in contact with humans. As the human hosts are infected with these new pathogen and viruses, they also return home to their families and begin to infect other humans. Next, let's take a look at climate change. Since the pre-industrial era, we've increased the temperature of the overall Earth, a phenomenon many of us associate with the term global warming. The combined land and ocean temperature has increased approximately 2 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 degrees Fahrenheit might seem like a very small jump for all these years, but let's consider these 2 degrees increase from an immunological system perspective. A natural response to unwanted pathogens and viruses is the heating of the overall body temperature. Pathogens typically do not do well in heated environments. So when a pathogen enters an organism, the organism's body warms up as a response to fight off any impending illnesses. This physiological response in humans is what we consider a fever. As we experience climate change on Earth, we are inducing an environment for pathogenic evolution. Pathogens have adapted to their surroundings and become better adapted to higher temperatures as they are exposed to global warming. For bats, because their regular body temperature spikes to plus or minus 105 degrees Fahrenheit, bats can continue fighting off pathogens with the increased heat resistance at minimal interruption to their daily life. Studies indicate that the average human body temperature sits at approximately 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, with the ability to spike a few degrees without major repercussions when we're sick. But new studies may in fact actually support reports that our human body temperature average may actually be decreasing. So, as pathogens are evolving with capabilities to withstand higher heat, they're reaching a human's maximum body temperature threshold and are withstanding heat greater than our average body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, causing our body to spike higher and higher and higher fevers. When we spike higher and higher fevers, our bodies are immunologically interrupted, which cause resultant failures throughout the rest of our bodily functions. Next, let's take a look at pollution. According to Linda Birnbaum, director of the United States National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, environmental pollutants affect how we are infected. Future generations will become increasingly affected by various chemical compounds in the water and air in a way that is negative for human immunological responses. One group of chemicals of emerging concerns are per- and polyfluoric substances, or PFAS, in our soils and groundwater. PFAS are man-made chemicals that were accidentally discovered in the 1930s when Teflon was invented. PFAS does not break down easily and accumulate excessively over time in the environment and the human body. New studies indicate its presence in drinking water and cause resultant adverse health effects, such as its potential to suppress the immune system. Other studies indicate PFAS's ability to decrease antibody levels triggered by vaccines and create altered immune-related health effects in early childhood. Chemicals in the air have also been researched to change immune responses to pathogens and viruses. In the 1970s, there was a growing concern of dense, visible smog in many of United States cities and industrial centers, which led to the establishment of the Clean Air Act in the 1970s. Although the Clean Air Act has helped the United States gain great progress in cleaning the air, the United States still has a long way to go to eliminate all air pollution. Pathogens and viruses have during this cleanup period of time also evolved to interact with localized pockets of air pollution. A very recent Harvard University study on the novel coronavirus concluded that if you breathe in via long-term exposure to fine particulate matter, such as PM 2.5, you are sharply increasing the chances of dying from the coronavirus. Let's do a quick recap. The problem or issue statement that we have been addressing today during our presentation is emerging infectious diseases presence will continually increase as we see a change in our natural environment due to man-made changes that disregard sustainability and the cycle of nature. Who and what does this problem affect? First and foremost, the general public's public health is important. Regardless of what geographic entity you live in, human health is important. In fact, one of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals is good health and well-being. WHO's primary role is to direct international health within the United Nations system and to lead partners in global health responses. Having a clear understanding of the relationship between emerging infectious diseases and the environment will help organizations such as the WHO guide the general public better. By addressing the root of cause of pandemics and other emerging infectious diseases, we are also investing in short and long-term capabilities to be sustainable and cognizant of our carbon footprint. Considering this problem statement will really encourage us to review the Sustainable Development Goals and focus on several Sustainable Development Goals, including good health, well-being, quality education, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, work and environment economic growth, industry innovation, infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water and land. The world has already begun working on innovative solutions to reduce pollution and minimize climate change, but a lot of it also stems from our elected officials making good decisions about environmental public policies that will really encourage our protection of the environment. The Montreal Protocol of 1987 is the first treaty to achieve universal ratification by all countries in the world and can serve as an example of positive teamwork to repair the ozone layer. Within the United States, laws and regulations such as the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act have also assisted in implementing environmental regulations across the country. These regulations are just the start of a long road to repair what we have already destroyed. The correlation between our environment and pathogens and viruses have been studied for decades by scientists, but it wasn't really something that was really given serious thought until the global pandemic of coronavirus began sweeping across the world. While many are righteously concerned about the welfare of our public health and economy, we should also be concerned with resolving the root of a pandemic, which really starts from caring about our natural environment. As Winston Churchill said in his 1948 speech to the House of Commons, those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. During this difficult time, our elected officials should really work together with corporations to learn from this pandemic. How can we balance our economic demands and environmental concerns in the future? What will the future of our environmental laws look like? What actions can we take that will address climate change in a way that is beneficial for short and long-term sustainability across the three pillars? Over the next few years, as we recover from the coronavirus, we should really try to see a shift in culture of our understanding of the environment. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals summarize in 17 ways we as a human population can sustainably continue to develop. Any new infrastructure should be one that is resilient and sustainable, addressing the needs of humans but also sustainable to natural environment. Economic growth must be balanced with an understanding of the impact on environment. A cultural shift in the mindset of sustainability is necessary. Each country should really recognize and work towards a culture of shared environmental responsibility in order to protect the world's interest in public health. With new technological advances available, we should really be looking forward to more affordable and clean energy, for instance, and promoting responsible consumption, production, and recycling. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to my presentation today.